it into the law.
This served Netanyahu because he didn't think Hamas would ever be a serious military threat.
Congo is a country with so much wealth. The people have been fighting to regain control.
From the corridors of power to the front line of change, Borderline brings you in with analysis of the issues.
The US has power over them. Most of them will steal money from Haiti and invest in that.
People who support Sonko and Jumai Pai, over half of them don't have a voter's card.
Sounds like my...
Join Ireti Bakare-Yusuf on Borderlines as she engages with policymakers and thought leaders,
giving you perspectives and insights you won't find anywhere else.
Be part of the conversation. Join us live.
Your voice matters on Borderlines as we explore the complexities.
Every Friday at 4 p.m.
on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Stay informed, stay engaged.
Step into the conversation.
You hear it from us.
We tell you who,
when,
where,
and how it was said.
Lagos Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has commended past and present leaders in the state.
If you're planning to disturb the peace of Lagos State, please have a rethink, because police say they will not be your friend.
Kwankwaso urged the president to leave a legacy of free elections.
Only on 99.3.
Your station for talk.
When the news breaks.
When people need to be heard.
With interviews that matter.
Trust your number one talk station to have you covered.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Welcome back to Borderlines, the only show that takes you beyond the borders. So we're expecting a second guest. Unfortunately, they haven't joined yet, so we're waiting for them to join. So in the meantime, the Titi Lokbers, the Emmanuels, those of you who are calling, who didn't get a chance, the engineers, Pastor Ladipo, etc., etc., I think we'll continue to discuss Syria. Titlope, I'm talking to you now. I know you're still listening. I'm curious as to why did you suspect there may have been foul play when Assad, the one that would have taken over from Assad's father, whose name keeps escaping me. Why did you think Assad's older brother? Why do you think that, or what made you think, or why do you suspect that there may have been foul play? Is that you calling, Titilope? Let's talk. Hello.
Yeah, I'm the one calling. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
The reason is clear. The father was a brutal dictator, and he was already grooming that son to succeeding. Already he was the crown prince, and nobody could have done anything to stop that. You understand? So because of that, I thought maybe those who are disgruntled with the administration,
right, may have taken him out. Right.
Not necessarily Bashir Assad. You understand? Because you are brother. Again, that's on this. And maybe people from the outside of the family would have, manipulated the situation such that they get rid of him and keep the space open for somebody, particularly when you consider the fact that at that point in time, Bashir Assad, who was the second son, was not up to the age eligible for being the president. You get, so that's why. So eventually, the man even changed the constitution.
But Bashir was in England, I think. He was studying to be a dentist.
There are so many friends from America, England, all of these places. Even at that time, 2010, that's why I said, if he had eaten the humble pie, could he have just ended up like Zain Abidine of Tunisia, who is now in Saudi Arabia with no problems, and nobody's even talking about him, but they talk about Tariq Zayed now, the president, who is just doing more, even worse than the previous dictator, they move from power.
Thank you.
So I think he just put himself into avoidable problems. All of these were unnecessary.
Okay.
And the other question I could have asked him was the Saudi angle. Saudi is now doing something for Afghanistan. Afghanistan, they are in the good book of study now. They are doing some things. Afghanistan, in the manner of speaking now, is getting better economically, if you like. And the whole world will not have any choice other than to just manage them the way they are. So it's not that they're going to do anything with Syria, given their background of Shia, whatever. Then the final one I could have asked
Titi Lokpe.
America started all
No, but I'm going to get Naeem back. So I want you to be ready for this.
Obama, David Cameron, and Nicolas Sarkozy, they started all the problem in the middle, from Tunisia to Libya, now in the whole of Europe. They started the problem. I wanted to ask him.
No, you can't ask him. You and I were having a conversation. I said because we're waiting for our guest. Our guest is here now, so go and listen.
2013, I know it's not there. 2013, Obama wanted to invade Syria like they did for Iraq.
Titi Lokpe, I have to cut you. My guest is here.
No problem. Thank you.
But wait, keep listening because I know you're going to have questions for him as well. Thank you, Titi Lokpe. Thank you so much. You're great. That Titi Lokpe is one of our, regular contributors because literally he's into geopolitics and history. However, excitedly, my guest is here. I'm excited, not just because he's my guest, but even more so is you all know how I feel about my colleagues, all around the world. But most importantly, in the last 14 months or so, my colleagues in Gaza. He is a journalist. He says, Gaza genocide journalist. I'm going to get him to explain that to you, right? He's also a political analyst and a commentator. He's Palestinian and he's based in London and he specializes in Middle East affairs. He's also a UN fellow and former Reuters journalism fellow at Oxford. He frequently contributes to global media on Palestine issues and regional politics. His name is Yousef, and I'm going to try to pronounce his surname. He's laughing at me. Alhelou. Did I pronounce it well, Yousef?
Hello, it means sweets or desserts.
Yes. So how would I pronounce it properly? Tell me.
Alhelou. Alhelou.
Alhelou.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. You're joining us from London. But I'd like to take you back to your Palestinian roots, if you could. We don't have much time, unfortunately, but if you kind of take us back to your Palestinian roots and kind of how you ended up in London, but most importantly, that you're from Gaza and your parents and what you've seen so far.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's my first time to be a guest on a Nigerian media outlet.
We are. Yeah. Let me just tell you, the show is Borderlines, and we are the only show that goes beyond borders and has been going to Gaza all the time, every time, since that genocide began. So, welcome to Nigeria, virtually.
Yeah, thank you very much. I always start by saying that we journalists, we are the voice of the voiceless. Unfortunately, I just heard sad news about a colleague who has been just killed in Gaza. He's a journalist. And this brings the total number of Palestinian journalists killed since the start of this genocide to 203. 203 journalists, including media workers, cameramen, those who work in the media industry. I'm not in Gaza, but I started reporting on this genocide since day one, because I'm from Gaza. I grew up there. My Gaza City is my hometown. And I wanted to become a journalist to raise awareness and to expose those atrocities and human rights violations. So I called my title as Gaza Genocide Journalist because this time it's not a war. It's a genocidal war. This is the worst aggression, the worst offensive, the worst unallowed onslaught that has been staged against Gaza. Gaza is a densely populated area. It's the world's largest open-air prison. And this open-air prison, during this genocide, has been transformed into an concentration camp. And lately, this concentration camp has been transformed into an extermination camp. I lost loved ones. I lost my sister, my nephews and nieces, and dozens of my relatives. I lost journalist colleagues. Our house is partially destroyed, and my family is displaced internally. And, for the past 14 months, we've been expecting the international community to mobilize and take action. But it feels that Israel is a brat state. It is called a brat state and enjoys impunity. That's why this genocide is ongoing for the past 14 months.
Indeed, it has. I mean, look, there's definitely no doubt that it's genocide, and there is no doubt that every single Palestinian, whether in the diaspora or at home, has been touched one way or the other. We've heard it, we know it, and anybody that denies it is merely denying the truth. Let's talk about what, on this show, we've talked about Palestinian journalists that are being killed in Gaza. We've talked about it before. We've posted about it. We talked about it last week during our review of, last year. But, of course, globally, it's almost like there's a look away. Pretend you can't hear. Pretend you don't know. There isn't the noise that we need globally. Why do you think that is? But before you answer that question, let me play to you a young Palestinian journalist yesterday. He gave an address, and I thought it was so powerful. Let me just play that.
These are not my words, but the words of every single one here, standing here after 459 days of the most well-documented and first live-streamed genocide in history. For these days, we've been reporting tirelessly, extensively, and thoroughly on this genocide. It's indeed a genocide against us, which we've been documenting in makeshift tented camps and workplaces. They are really the places we've taken shelter since day one. You've seen us shedding tears over our loved ones, colleagues, friends, and family members. You've seen us killed in every possible way. We've been immolated, incinerated, dismembered, and disemboweled. And recently, we've been freezing to death. What more ways should you be seeing us killed in so that you can move and act and stop the hell inflicted upon us? There are no words to describe what we've been going through, because you've seen our bodies, how they've become fragile, skinny, and fatigued. But we never stopped. We never stopped to tell you the truth, to narrate our stories, and to tell you that we are being genocided, to move your dead consciences, to help a population that has seen every sort of torture and tasted every type of death. Today, we're all standing here after Israel's impunity against us. And we don't know how many journalists should be killed so you can really act and stop Israel's impunity against us. Our message is very clear. We are journalists, and we are Palestinian journalists. We have been let down by the international community, particularly the international media organizations. We haven't seen any sort of support, a single word of support. Even the press vests we're wearing right now mark us as a target. They do not protect us at all. But yes, because we are Palestinians, maybe if we were Ukrainians or of any other citizenship with blonde hair and blue eyes, the word would rage and rant for us. But because we are Palestinians, we have only one right, which is to die and be maimed. Finally, we are just documenting a genocide against us. It's enough after almost a year and a half. We want you to stand foot by foot with us, because we are like any other journalists, reporters and media workers all across the globe, no matter the origin, the color or the race. Journalism is not a crime. We are not a target.
That was 21 years old Palestinian journalist Abu Bakr Abed. When you hear that, when you hear the words, we are not the target, we have tasted every type of death, what are the thoughts that comes to your mind?
Indeed, it's very powerful words by our journalist colleague. Remember, Israel prevented the entry of foreign journalists into Gaza. And when we share the statistics of the casualties in Gaza, Israel and some of the American Western media outlets will say, oh, well, no, these are Hamas's statistics. Then we tell them, so why don't you pressure Israel to allow foreign journalists in order to document this crime and carry out the statistics? It's really sad that our journalist colleagues in the West, they don't really exercise their rights to defend their fellow journalist colleagues. What's happening in Gaza, as you said, it's the world's most documented genocide, live streamed on mobile phones, and the world has been watching this. It's a horror movie. It's a Hunger Game. Israel is starving the population in Gaza. It's a collective punishment. Can you imagine 2 million people, they are internally displaced in less than 50 square kilometers? You know, it's the world's most dense populated spot on earth. And this spot is isolated from the rest of the world. We don't have airports, seaports. There's no electricity, no water. It's like a fishing barrel. Israel drops the most sophisticated bombs against civilian population in order to kill and maim those innocent people, because Israel is jealous from our steadfastness. Israel wants us to raise the white flag. It doesn't want Palestinians to demand for their freedom. And the Palestinian struggle started 76 years ago. So to say that Israel is defending itself, it's a lie. I mean, everybody has the right to defend themselves. Even the Palestinians, please, the Palestinians. I say all lives matters. Black lives matter. Palestinian lives matter. But unfortunately, Israel and the West, they consider Palestinian lives much less in value compared to the Israeli lives. And remember, it's only a few kilometers away in the Israeli side, there's paradise. Whereas in Gaza, it's hell on earth.
Yeah.
It's the world's children's cemetery. Israel killed approximately 16,000 children. Where are the crimes? Where is the agony? Where is the mobilization of human rights organizations? Why Israel is so special?
Indeed, why is Israel so special is a question that everybody continues to ask. It's interesting, that word you said, just a few kilometers away is paradise. I had a colleague of mine on the show, I think it was last week, whom I felt didn't represent what was going on between Gaza and Israel and Palestine as a whole. I didn't think he actually represented it adequately and honestly with history. But one of the things, he had just been to Israel. He went to Israel in December. He came back. Well, I had been to Israel immediately, the December of the October 10th. So that's what, 2023. One thing that stuck with me, I went to Far Atza, and it's this paradise that you mentioned. And I kept telling everybody, you've got to, if you don't go, you won't realize that. There's the wall that imprisons Gaza, and then you have what you literally describe as a paradise, and it's true, just a barbed wire 2 or 3 kilometers away from Gaza, and there's this other life going on in Israel on the Israeli side. And incidentally, Far Atza is actually Gaza, right? That's one of the things I learned. But they're living a totally different life. They're living a totally different existence. What you call a paradise. That's so true.
Well, I mean, I don't know, do they have the right to claim that they are God's chosen nation? I mean, do God's chosen nation kill children, women, and they starve people to death? What kind of God is that gives the instructions and gives the green light to name and slaughter Palestinian children under the name of self-defense? Look, history, it's been repeated many times. History didn't start on October the 7th. It's been 14 months. And the past 14 months have been October the 7th for the past 460 days. This is enough. Israel is a flaxing dismissal. Israel is using the latest technology. It is using Gaza as a scapegoat to scare its neighbors. It is using Gaza as a fist in the ground. Israel is exporting weapons and drones after they exercise them and set them in Palestinians. And you have all these $1,000 maybe in the game. They know that using the against children playing the or of the robbing response basically for sick. I mean, what kind of humanity is that? I mean, because Israel made us a big thing. Past 40 months have been most intense course about the history. Many people around the world are educated with the sharing beyond what is really happening. This is preventing and fighting the crime is awakening. It might take experience, but one day we are certain that Palestinians will gain their freedom.
Indeed, Yousef, you make yet another important point, is that there's a whole new generation, the Gen Zs, who didn't know, who had not been taught, because of course, the majority of the world pretended that the Palestinian issue was no longer existing, right? So you have a whole generation, Gen Z, and even millennials who didn't know anything about this. But after October 7th, they all began to learn. Would you put that to social media or to mainstream media?
Two things. Palestinians were not responsible for the Holocaust, and yet Palestinians are paying a heavy price for the guilt of Nazi Germany. Social media is playing a crucial, important role to raise awareness. Now, it's corporation, traditional media, they no longer maintain monopoly of the narrative. Now, every single Palestinian in Gaza who's got a smartphone is a citizen journalist. That's why Israel is so annoyed from the work of journalists, media workers, even influencers. They cut the internet, they need the internet in order to spy on Palestinians. And social media is here to stay. I think that's why I reached over 1 million followers on Instagram. My account exploded because the world is interested to learn about what's really happening. They no longer trust and believe that it's really lying.
Let's talk about you posted about your colleague and friend Fadi Al-Widi, who spent 85 days on the 2nd of January, his birthday, has spent it paralyzed, sick, and hasn't been taken out of Gaza for treatment. Tell us what happened to him and why is Israel stopping his evacuation?
There are some journalists who were deliberately targeted, assassinated, because Israel accuses them of being members of the resistance. Other journalists who were posted in the hostilities and they died coincidentally. And Fadi was reporting, he was working with Al Jazeera, and he was working and he was deliberately, and his colleagues, they were targeted because Al Jazeera is not welcome in Palestine because it's one of the main, credible, trusted sources. And Israel refuses to allow him to be transported outside of Gaza as a punishment because, again, because some journalists are being accused of helping and assisting the resistance. That's why it's a collective punishment. Can you imagine IDF, I call them IOF soldiers, they brag, sharing their crimes online, and their accounts are still there, whereas so many Palestinian accounts on social media, they're blocked, taken down because Palestinians share the crimes that Israel is committing. There is double standard policy, there is hypocrisy, there is, I call it an international conspiracy of silence. So journalism is not a crime, as our colleague said. And so many journalists, they say, we are not going to be silenced. Some journalists, to be honest, they are afraid. They stopped reporting because they say, why should we bother and report to the world who is turning a blind eye to our suffering?
You mentioned about Israel's impunity, the impunity that's given to them for them to do as they've pleased. just, I think it was yesterday, the U.S. House, that includes the Democrats, 40-odd Democrats, and Republicans, voted to sanction the International Criminal Court for actually issuing a warrant on Benjamin Netanyahu, and even more so said any country that respects or acts on that warrant will also be sanctioned. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Israel has sabotaged the international system, and we no longer, Palestinians, we no longer trust the so-called UN Security Council. We no longer believe in the slogans of human rights, civilization, and so on that is being exported from the West, because it's a test for humanity, and the humanity failed Palestinians. I mean, we are not talking about the people. There are millions of people who are supporting and paying solidarity with Palestinians. We're talking about the politicians who are being blackmailed, tortured, and they are paid by the APEC, especially in the United States, because the Zionist lobby is very active there, and those politicians, they have to bow and implement what they are being dictated. This is the truth. We know what's happening. I mean, they scare and they issue threats to people who speak up for justice. And many people are afraid to say it because they are worried to be targeted, they are worried to lose their jobs. But people are starting to be courageous. Students in campuses at universities worldwide. We've seen so much going on around the world. We've seen IOF soldiers being faced by locals in different countries because those soldiers who are taking part, they are taking breaks in the genocide. They go and attack the locals, like what happened in Instagram and in Portugal. So this shows the arrogance that they enjoy. And this infinity will end for sure because the world will no longer tolerate this. Look what's happening in California. Why American people they tax dollars goes to Israel to finance the genocide. The American people, they should say no. Our tax money, they could be injected internally to deal with the tragedy, with the disaster that is engulfing the country right now, for example.
Indeed. I mean, President Biden, I guess, as his parting gift to Israel, just signed off another $20 billion worth of arms to Israel, despite Anthony Blinken, saying they are working hard on a ceasefire. Every time there's been a ceasefire at the UN, there's been, a resolution for a ceasefire at the UN where it's been voted for by the majority. The US has, I think 5 times or 6, the US has continued to veto it. What hopes do you have for a ceasefire, if there will ever be any?
Well, wars will have to end one day. Wars do not continue forever. So at some point, this genocide will have to end. I'm optimistic that it might end in the coming few weeks or 2 months.
May I ask, where does that optimism come from? Tell us.
Because I think both sides, Israel and Hamas, they show willingness to end this genocide. Israel is suffering. I mean, it is exhausted. It's a war of attrition. Israel is losing soldiers every day in Gaza. And there is a pressure from the families of the hostages and Netanyahu to sign a deal. And America is not happy for Netanyahu because he violated the international law. He killed the children. He enjoys impunity, blah, blah, blah. And he embarrassed the U.S. On the other side, there is suffering in Gaza. Hamas lost popularity. And I think it's right. I think it could be the right time in the coming weeks that we might hear the announcement of the ceasefire. But both sides, they are exercising their stubbornness in order to score more achievements. Let's hope that the suffering of our people will end very soon, because for the past 14 months, people been living in things, in miserable conditions. This is the third winter that our people are experiencing. There's so much tragedy. And believe me, when this genocide ends and when foreign journalists they are entering Gaza, they will be shocked from the level of oppression and injustice and suffering that Israel has been trying to hide from the international community. I hope that Israel will realize one day that it will never feel safe or secure as long as Palestinians are suffering.
Indeed. I mean, especially given that there's an ambition for Israel to build a larger, greater Israel.
Expansionist.
Expansion. Yes, the expansionist ambition. Yes.
Yeah, and by the way, Israel has no defined borders between Gaza and Israel. It's a security fence that separates Gaza from Israel. That's why Israel has no constitution. So it's an expansionist state.
Let's talk about Palestinian politics, because I think when you talked about your optimism for a ceasefire, we haven't heard much from Mahmoud Abbas of the Palestinian Authority. Then suddenly the next thing we hear is that he stopped Al Jazeera from actually broadcasting in the Ramallah. What is going on there?
Well, it's very unfortunate news. I mean, it's sad reality that the Palestinian Authority in those times, they are being dictated upon, they are exploited by Israel, and because the financial support is paid by America, obviously they have to obey the order. People are not happy from the stance of the Palestinian Authority when it comes to facing their own people in the West Bank. There is so much fear, intimidation amongst Palestinians in the West Bank because they are facing not only Israel, but also they are being faced by the security forces of the Palestinian Authority. It's very thorny, complicated, sensitive situation that split between the two main rival factions that have been happening since 2007. And this is one of the really sad things that Palestinians are divided. And who is causing this division? Israel.
Let me just tell my listeners, because I know they're going to want to call in. 0201 277 0993, 0201 465 7190, and you can send in your SMS, or rather your WhatsApp, to 0809 597 5805. I will be coming to your calls soon. Don't call yet, because I know you're already beginning to call. One of the things, if we go back to talk about Shireen Abu Akleh, who, I think she was a Palestinian American who worked for Al Jazeera. All the noise about investigation, etc., nothing, no sanctions, no action from America, as a response for her killing by Israel, because she was wearing a press vest, and it's clear that she was targeted. When countries don't respond because their citizens' other citizenship is Palestine, what do you think should happen?
I think, remember, have you heard of Richard Flory? She was an American peace activist. She was crushed to death.
The young girl. Yes.
Yeah, in 2002, crushed to death by an Israeli tank in 2002.
Yes.
Also, recently, an American Turkish citizen.
Yes, correct.
Was shot dead by Israeli forces. So it's not only Palestinians, but unfortunately, as I said, Israel signs a deal with the U.S. or other countries to reach a compromise. They pay compensation and resolve the files. Unfortunately, this is the reality. There is no accountability. So this is what the Palestinians have been suffering from for the past 76 years. Many UN fact-finding missions visited Palestine. Many peace activists documented the crime. It feels like things are normalized, and this has to change.
Yes. Right. You can call now, and I'll be coming to your call. I'm understanding that there's something wrong with your camera, and it has device that's static. I'm not quite sure. It's the technical team that are sending that to me. So can you check? I'm not sure, because we're getting a lot of background static noise from your side, Yousef.
Yeah, I wouldn't like read this too long because I have to go shortly.
Oh, you have to go. Okay. All right. Let me answer the calls. Hello?
Evening, Silgi.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Emmanuel, is that you?
Yeah, we have Emmanuel on the line.
Yes, go ahead.
Of recent, Trump was asked about the issue of Palestinian and Gaza, and then he said if by on the 20th, before he's sworn in, those hostages are not released, or will be let loose in the Middle East. What is the response of your guest, to his comment. Secondly, is it about ceasefire or about a lasting solution to the whole crisis?
Okay. Thank you. Yes, of course. Donald Trump at the press conference. There's I'm getting feedback. Donald Trump at the press conference just a couple of days ago, where he said if the Israeli hostages are not released, there will be hell in the Middle East. What are your thoughts on that? And also what Emmanuel was asking is it about a ceasefire or a lasting peace in Palestine? Do you think that lasting peace is possible?
It is possible if the pressure is applied in Israel. If there is no pressure applied, Israel will continue to cheat the world. It will continue to evade responsibility. With regards to Trump, what else can Israel do? Drop an atomic bomb? Because it has done everything to crush the Palestinians' morale. So I don't think these threats will scare the Palestinians. I mean, look, the vast majority of Palestinians, they are not affiliated to, political action. But yet, we are being selectively punished because of the act of this small group. It's very controversial. People support resistance. People oppose resistance. The West calls this resistance terrorism. There are so different opinions, but at the end of the day, there must be a political solution. Military solutions will not bring an end to this conflict.
Let me answer more calls. Hello? Okay. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. What's your name? Where you calling from and what's your question?
Happy New Year, to you again, and hello to your guest. You're
Hello.
Tom Raider.
Okay.
I think what I believe is there will be no headway because American interest is Israel's interest. On so many occasions, U.S. Can you hear me?
I'm listening.
U.S. have vetoed that ceasefire deal.
So what is your question?
My question, there has to be a different approach because they'll be going forth and back.
So what is your question? You haven't asked your question. We don't have time, unfortunately. I have to rush you. What is your question?
What is the next? What it's tangible for them to do at the moment? Because
Who is them? Who is them?
Whoever who is going to support Palestine at the moment.
Okay, so what can the Palestinians do right now? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very I just needed to be clear. Thank you. Right. If you can answer that very quickly, what can the Palestinians do right now, given the situation that things are at?
Well, the Palestinians, they have no choice. They are the victims, and Israel is the victimizer. So the question to be addressed to Israel, is Israel enjoying this control, enjoying this reputation as them a lot of money? Is Israel happy to have so many enemies around it? Is Israel happy to destabilize the Middle East region? If Israel wants to be some part of the region, then they have to start doing a peace deal. Israel will never peace succeed on state. Again, it's society Palestinian lands. And why Israel keeps provoking the Palestinians? Because Israel only thrives on violence. Remember, if Israel signs a peace treaty with the Palestinians, this means it will not receive initial support. It will not be the level of support will be reduced by the U.S. It will not be able to play the victim. It will not be able to shoot critical fields. So it is interested in prolonging this conflict. And the U.S. Western politicians, they should be wise and say, look, you cannot sort it forever. So I think peace is possible, but there must be a political will on part of the international community to put pressure on Israel to say, look, you have to live in peace and harmony and coexistence with your neighbors, and you have to end the occupation. Occupation is the root cause of the problem.
Okay, thank you. Hello? Hello? Yes.
Yeah, Titi Lokwe.
Titi Lokwe, one question, please, go.
Yeah, of course. Does it think that Palestine has more enemies within Arab League than Israel as a whole?
Okay.
The reason I say that is that, for instance, the whole of the Middle East, at least majorly dominated by the Arabs, almost same religion, yet they see them going through this kind of problems, and they cannot come alongside themselves, push for a diplomatic way.
Understood.
The way Nigeria did to fight for South Africa.
Okay.
So does it think Palestine has more enemies within the Arab League than Israel as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you hear that?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, he said, do you think the Palestinians have enemies within the Arab League, given that most of them haven't come to the aid of Palestine since, for the last 76 years, they've been saying, especially in the last 14 months, what's going on in Gaza?
No, we don't have enemies. It is they are not able to help us because of the pressure imposed on them by the U.S. administration. They know that if they dare to criticize Israel, or maybe because, they have to agree.
Actually been, very integral in the whole negotiation. The likes of Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, these are big, strong, rich countries whose voices could make a difference. In fact, we know that the people of those countries support Palestine, but the leaders don't seem to be making any concrete actions to support Palestine.
As I said, politicians, they are blackmailed, they are extorted, because in order to stay in power, then you have to obey the instructions and orders of the U.S. administration. This is crystal clear for even the Saudi side in Palestine amongst the Arab world. They are not willing to intervene because they will face consequences. It's very crystal clear. Maybe it's not clear for the people outside Palestine. And the U.S. has never been the only peace broker. That's why, all the peace talks failed because Israel military doesn't really mean it when we talk about peace. If I may, can I ask you please to wrap up because I have to go.
Okay. Well, if you've got to go, you've got to go. What can we say? I'll continue with the show. But Yousef, thank you so very much for joining us. I know it's a very, very busy time for you. Thank you for making time out to talk to us.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And I hope one day you will visit us in Gaza.
I absolutely cannot wait. I did ask when we went to Israel as a journalist. I did ask if I could go into Gaza. Of course, they said no. I wanted to go to the West Bank. Of course, they said no.
You will, inshallah.
Amen.
Free Palestine.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Take care, Yousef. Hello? Oh, you need to turn off your radio.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, please, this is Henry calling from Agege.
Yeah.
Please, I want to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
What about, don't you think if the Palestinian, I believe Palestinian is Hamas is Palestinian.
Well, that's where you're, first and foremost, that's what you're wrong. You have to stop conflating. It's like saying Nigeria. No, permit me to finish, please.
Let me go straight to my question.
You can't say that. That is a false statement that you start. Okay. If you start on a false premise, Hamas is Palestine, Palestinians are Hamas. Like, literally, you're justifying the genocide by saying that.
I'm justifying the genocide. Okay.
Yes.
Let me go straight to my question.
Please do.
Don't you think if Hamas released the Israeli hostage, there could be peace?
Do you think if Israel released almost 7,000-8,000 Palestinians that are in Israeli captivity?
Let's go back to October 7th.
But it didn't start on October 7th. I am listening to you. It did not start on October 7th. If all you know is October 7th, then you need to go back and read from 76 years ago. There is no C.
You are supporting terrorists.
No, you are being ignorant, and I'm sorry, this conversation ends. You see, if you continue, after we've been doing this show, and we've had Israeli historians, and you call and start saying, implying that everything began on October 7th, when you have the likes of Titi Lokpe, Emmanuel, Pastor Ladipo, and others who contribute all the time to this, and you have let yourself down by not picking up a book, by not listening to them, forget me, by actually even coming on air to dare to conflate the people of Palestine with Hamas. That's almost like saying everybody in Nigeria is APC. Does that make sense? Really? Honestly, does that make sense? You see, I could not continue with that because first and foremost, he did start, once you start something on the wrong premise, you're bound to trip over and go in the wrong direction. Secondly, he accused me of being a terrorist. Well, unfortunately for him, I don't tolerate ignorance. So it's up to him to feed his ignorance. You see, some of you will continue to do this. Pick up a book. Ask the likes of Titi Lokwe and Emmanuel and Pastor Ladipo, not because they support or whatever. They don't support. They really ask important, critical, challenging questions because they bother to research, they bother to read. So if any of you calling is calling to actually lose, and I think I know who that person is. He's constantly putting a message on my handle. If that is you, then shame on you because you didn't use your correct name. But please, let's not do this. Otherwise, 14 months, right, with both sides, or not one side, both sides. Come on, people. Coming to your calls. Hello. I can't hear you. Right, you can call back. I can't hear you. Sorry. So, where were we? I've actually literally lost. So the whole point of having my guest was to discuss about what's happening to journalists and why Israel, 203 journalists have been killed in Gaza. That is the highest number of journalists that has been killed in any conflict ever. That is a fact. It is not me that's making it up. Do the research, right? There is clearly something wrong there. Something very, very wrong. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good evening, rather.
Yeah, this is Bakar. I'm calling from Shango.
Okay, go ahead, Bakar. You have, go ahead. 1 minute.
It seems you are getting obsessed with this Palestinian.
Well, no, actually, it's still the biggest story in the news. In fact, it is as big as the fact that Americans are now questioning Biden about why are they sending so much money to Israel? Well, I don't think you can hear me. But if you call the show and tell me I'm obsessed, I'm going to correct you. This is Ireti Bakare-Yusuf you're speaking to. My name is not anybody else. Because you come with an accusation. Why should I allow you to finish? Can you all just drink some water and connect with reality? This genocide is still one of the biggest news. We have a fire going on in LA, a horrible fire that has taken out a large chunk of LA, right? There's issues around water provision. Americans are asking, and they keep asking their government, how can we have this issue? We knew that it was coming, and yet you keep giving money, funding to Israel. Why is it that one of the things that came up during the elections was, why is it that we don't have free healthcare, yet you give money to Israel and they have free healthcare? So yes, it is important. But if you're going to call me to accuse me, I will cut you off. I do not tolerate such things. I'm not here to babysit you. Hello? Okay. All right, you can call back. Okay, hello.
Yeah, I'm calling you back again. You should allow me to talk.
Then don't start with an accusation, otherwise I will cut you off.
I'm saying that you are becoming obsessed with it.
Hello?
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, my name is David. I'm calling from Badagry.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, please. Two wrong cannot make a right, but the both sides have made big mistake. Yeah, the both sides have made a big mistake. What I don't want a peace. I want equal rights. Yeah, for the human race. So that's what I want from Gaza and Israel.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Do you see what a neutral position sounds like? He wants peace, right? It didn't come to me with you are not going to make a pronouncement on me. You do not get qualified for that at all. At all. Hello? 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 Okay. You'll have to call back, I'm afraid. I can't hear you. Hello? Hello?
You cannot be a judge over your own program. It's people that will assess you.
Hello? Hello?
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You have a minute, quickly. We're about to be cut off.
Okay, right quick. This is Kenny. I just want to say that I am so sad at the death of every casualty in this war. And I'm praying that the Almighty God will give divine wisdom to all parties involved to have a lasting solution.
Thank you.
This.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Right, are we done? Okay, are we done? Yeah, I have 30 seconds. Oh, gosh, 10 seconds. Oh, dear. 10 seconds I've got to sign out. I can't pick up your call. If you want to have this conversation with me, you can come to my social media, where I really do deal with some people who make pronouncements against me. All right? Have a fabulous weekend. My name is Ireti Bakare-Yusuf.
Have you
Bye-bye.
ever dreamt of waking up to the soothing sound of the ocean waves in Eco Atlantic City? Welcome to Phoenix Tower, where convenience is at your doorstep.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.